We're all born naked and the rest is drag. With shows like the RuPaul's Drag Race franchise, Queen of the Universe, and AJ and the Queen, but to name a few, has catapulted the art of drag into mainstream media and has made this art form a global phenomenon. The South African drag scene has grown exponentially over the past few years with a range of diverse, unique, and talented performers. But where did we start? Where are we going? What are our dreams, aspirations, goals, and finding our own individuality to strut and slay? Today on the couch, I have some of the most incredible performers here: Kitana Klitoris, Nicki Supreme, and Karla Beauty Marx. Welcome to WQMD. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Can I call you that?
Yeah, of course.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for making time out of your schedules to be here and to discuss the art of drag within a South African context.
Thank you for having us.
For having us.
Yeah.
You guys are all incredibly talented and from different spheres and paths in the drag entertainment industry. Kitana, I want to start with you, being the older, mature queen.
Oh, thank you. Like a fine wine.
Like a fine wine, just getting better and better. How was it for you to get into drag back in the day when it wasn't really a mainstream, art form?
Well, in the back of my Volksie, a Beetle, VW Beetle. And I used to drive, because I come from the Vaal, and that is very conservative. So what I had to do is drive out, hide my clothing in the bonnet, because obviously the boot is now in front, so I had to hide everything in there, under the tire, drive all the way to the venue where I was going to perform. I only had Paris foundation, which was lighter than my skin tone, so I was ashy gray. Black pencil that I used for brows, eyes, and lips. And it was kind of, it was scary, because how do I take the makeup off before I get home, So for me, it was kind of like a challenge. It's survival of the fittest, But it was quite difficult.
And did you have a lot of materials at your disposal back then?
Not at all. I used to dress up with dishcloth, So I used to take a dishcloth and tie it into the bra so it looks like a TLC bra strap. And I used to wear a little skirt that was made out of loincloth. And I used to go to competitions like that. And I used to win them. But then what's the point of winning them when I can't share them with someone else, I had to internalize a lot of things when I get home, and I used to be at a boys' school, so it was quite difficult.
Can imagine.
Yeah.
Nicki, serving us ostrich realness today. You obviously being a drag queen of color, how do you experience the scene currently?
So the scene is a bit hard for me at the moment because I feel like I am the only black drag queen in Pretoria that's been doing the most so far. So doing drag in Pretoria itself is very hard because everybody had drag moms and, they as a black boy, I grew up very poor. Yes, I was adopted, but I could choose where I wanted to go over weekends, but I chose to live by my biological mom. So my biological mom didn't have a lot to give, she only had love to give. And growing up, I couldn't, study makeup. I couldn't buy the fancy makeup. I used to steal my mom's makeup and everything. So me being black in Pretoria is very hard as a drag queen, and it's not easy to get in. I had to literally fight every single day. I had nights where I cried myself to death. Some days I was breaking myself down. Why can't you be white? Why can't you scratch off your color and be white? Because then you'll fit in easier. And, like I said, we didn't have a lot. We didn't have DSTV and all that stuff. So I couldn't watch Mamma Mia. I couldn't know, Mamma Mia's lyrics. By now, I'm still learning them, it's very hard to learn them. And, being in the drag scene, the first song that you hear is Mamma Mia. Como se diz Mamma Mia? So it's very hard because, like I said, I've been raised up very differently. Yeah.
Do you feel that there's still a very big gap in the drag market to allow people of color, I don't want to say the same opportunities as other drag queens, but to be taken more seriously and to open that door to make space for more queens of color?
I feel like there is. We can definitely, open more space to get more black drag queens. I mean, like, there's now a new one that came out, and she calls me like every time before she performs because she's scared they would, say something about her makeup or say something rude about her. And I'm here to stand up for her and the rest of the others, no matter your color, but I'm still here to stand up for you. And that's one of the reasons why I also entered for Mr. and Mrs. Gay Pride, because I really wanted to prove something. I wanted to prove to them being black, being a drag queen, starting on your own without a drag mom is actually easy. You can do it if you're very committed. If you put your head into something, you can do it. It's all about trusting yourself and not listening to other people. And that's why I really love motivating other people to come out and join me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Carla, talking about the whole drag mother situation, did you have someone to take you under, their wing and show you the ropes of the industry?
Not at all. I actually decided to do drag. I had been in London and I'd seen an all non-cis male drag show, and I was like, oh, I really want to do that. So then I went onto YouTube and I learned how to do drag makeup, and it wasn't great at first, but no one guided me. And Fifi O'Hara was in Joburg at Babylon, and I was like, fine, I'm just gonna do it, bite the bullet and go in drag. And that was my first introduction really to the Joburg drag scene. And I met amazing people that night, but no one really had any guidance for me. Everyone saw me as an outsider.
And I think that is one of the big problems that we still face in the community, is that it's each for their own. And as much as that is a true statement, we need to be there for each other. We need to guide each other. We need to help each other. We need to push each other forward to be the best that we can be. Carla, I want to touch on the fact that you are a very unique drag queen. You used to identify as an AFAB drag queen, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Please tell the fellow guests and the viewers at home what that entails.
So AFAB stands for assigned female at birth. So I am assigned female at birth, but I'm non-binary. And in the drag world, and it's slowly starting to shift, there was always a need to call female people in drag something other than a drag queen, because that's not what we could be. So it started off with faux queen, bio queen, and eventually ended up at AFAB queen. Which is slightly less offensive, but still there's no need to define people by their genitals. So it basically is just a way of segregating it and making sure that you never really feel steady on your feet because you aren't a drag queen. So now I'm a drag queen like everyone else here. And
I think that's also the great thing about drag, is like it's not defined or just bound to a gender. Anybody can do it, as long as you do it authentically and you do it because you really want to, obviously to prove something to yourself, but not do it for other people's, to please other people, if I can put it that way. Kitana, what are some of the struggles that you still face? I think like we're kind of like the OGs, we're like a little bit older amongst the youngsters, but especially now with the whole RuPaul Drag Race franchise being everywhere that we look, is there pressure being put on us as the older queens to perform on the standard that has now been created by this franchise?
Thank you for that question. I'm trying to answer something like that because it is a challenge. We lip sync assassins. We will forever be lip sync assassins. We can stand dead still and carry a song across and make it look beautiful and powerful at the same time. But now, how do you compete with someone throwing somersaults, splits, trying to be the RuPaul legacy? And forget about the drag queens of old, if I may call it that, the genuine drag queens, the OGs, the die-hard, I'm a lip sync assassin, and it's very, very difficult currently to get shows, especially because people want to see more circus type style drag versus the theater honest drag.
I hear you. Like the thing is, if I had to do a death drop, F-bop better be waiting outside.
I tell you.
Because I'm not getting back up. Nicki, what is your drag aesthetic? What is your style? What is your go-to? If you had to explain yourself in 3 words, what would that be?
Just, I would say fabulous, gorgeous, and beautiful.
Beautiful.
I love myself.
I'm not vain. I just call myself darling.
No, I really love myself. Like I said, if you don't love yourself, how can you do drag? You need to love yourself so much to understand, if I want to go on that stage, I need to give my personality to the crowd. So I really love myself. I don't care. Everybody's like, Nicki spends hours in front of the mirror. And I'll be like, lost man.
Truth. This is a question for all 3 of you. So with drag having grown so much, we've been moving into a lot of hetero spaces. Do you still feel backlash when you move into these spaces? Do you feel threatened? Not necessarily physically, but do you feel, I need to take a step back? Kitana.
I think times have changed completely because of the OGs. We've kind of created that platform for the newer queens to go into those venues because we took most of the brunt of the entrance into a venue like a Billy the Bums or, a venue in maybe Krugersdorp or Potchefstroom, Nelspruit. For us, it's much more easier. I never feel threatened going into a venue because I know I'm there to perform, deliver my art, and give the audience what they want. And once I'm done with that, I don't still hang around. I've done my job and I leave. So I think it's the queens that hang around, that try strange things, that make it bad for the rest of us, to try and get that straight man, and it's not about that. Why take the art form and turn it into something that's
It's supposed to be just that, the art form.
Hashtag,
Yeah. Karla?
Honestly, I feel pretty threatened in a lot of spaces, even in supposedly queer spaces, because the number of times I've had my boobs grabbed, my vagina grabbed to ask if I'm tucked. So it's a physical threat, but it's also just the comments, and it does wear you down a bit. I definitely think that there needs to be a change, and hopefully there has been. I haven't sort of been back in the drag scene since the end of 2020, well, before the pandemic, because I was living in London, and some spaces, they are very different. Like, they don't allow like hen parties or bachelor parties at all. Like, they're banned. But then you also go into spaces where it's exactly the same as here. So I don't think I think the world has moved into a space, and a lot of it, I think, does come from this drag race thing. And as Kitana was saying, from this, like, people trying to be more than just a drag queen, where people feel that they have a right to our bodies and our stories and a right to talk to us about their entire trauma, which I don't know why a wig says I'm a psychologist.
Exactly. I hear you. Nicki?
So same here, like they all said, they feel threatened. Same here. I had days where, straight men comes to me and they're like, yes, you're prettier than my wife. And I'm like, well, leave me alone. I'm not doing this to impress your men to touch me or to try to flirt with me. I'm doing it because it's a talent. This is a talent. This is something that you do. You give your whole heart out on stage when you perform. You lip sync to songs, so it doesn't give anyone the right to touch you or to make nasty comments of you.
Now, consent is still, I think, a very big struggle that we deal with. But I also want to touch on a lot of hetero people move into queer spaces where we are supposed to feel safe and be ourselves. Yeah. But that has now come almost to a point where it's being taken away from us.
Yeah.
Even when we are in queer spaces where we're supposed to feel safe, we feel like we need to, step back a little bit. Yeah. And we need to make it a point of that from every performer's point of view, that you are stepping into our territory. You need to respect us, you need to respect the art form, you need to respect the rules, and you don't just grab a boob, like Karla said, or like stick your hand up someone's dress. I've had that done to me once at a show, and I was like, oh, buy me a drink first. You know, and as drag queens, we have a way of, you know, scuffing it off with like a little, you know, of a comeback or like a little quick one-liner. But I don't think people always realize the severity of that. So we really need to encourage people of the queer community and those in and out of the drag realms to stand up for queer performers and to make sure that people are not taking advantage of said performer. Then I also want to ask, and this is such a tough question for me. Do we still receive hate from our own community?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like the bears and the drag queens, and the only, like, I'm not pigeonholing, but I feel that the only people that ever support us are the heterosexual people. And it was in our own community, the bears, completely 100%. They are so supportive. The people who don't support us are the gym bunnies, if I can call them that. I just find that they think being masculine and have a body that's like a Adonis gives you the right to talk down to a drag queen when, lest you forget, a drag queen was the first one who lashed out at Stonewall to give you this privilege you have today.
So on that point, I think that a lot of these men are very threatened by other people not expressing the kind of masculinity they believe that everyone should have. And I think it is a product of toxic masculinity. And instead of unlearning that, they tend to take it out on feminine people and drag queens specifically because they're within the community. So how could they threaten what we think masculine means?
And there's also still this very big stereotype that I quite often deal with is that people think I want to be a woman. And I don't. For me, I created this character and I can live vicariously through her and be a little bit more extra and a little bit more flamboyant. But at the end of the day, when the wig comes off and the dress and everything, like I still enjoy being who I am apart from the persona that I created. So do you share the same sentiment?
Do, 100%. Because I really feel like you said, the gym bunnies. And it's not only on drag queens, like even if you're a normal gay boy, you feel insecure. They make you feel so insecure. Like in the end of the day, you want to lose weight to fit in. You want to be one of the pretty boys. If you're not a pretty boy, you're not allowed in the gay community. If you don't have the blonde hair, the skinny body, you're not allowed in the gay community. So most of the gym buddies make you feel insecure. And even as a drag queen as well, you know, they look at you like you're a piece of trash. Yeah. I've had some of them looking at me like that. And you feel so bad in the end of the day. You don't know, should I take off my wig? Should I look like a boy and then he will like me? Or should I look, you know, a certain way for somebody to like me? So you end up trying to change yourself for them, only them to like you.
I absolutely 100% agree. Like, we need to stick to our guns. We need to stay authentically who we are and screw the rest of the people. If you can't love me for who I am, then hit the road, baby. Karla, I wanted to touch quickly on, you said you were in London.
Yes.
Does South African drag compete with what we see overseas?
In certain realms, yes. I would say in the terms of like people doing amazing tricks and flips and all of that, yeah, definitely. But I think what London has that we seem to have lost is the traditional drag or the crazy cabaret that is wild. And parts of London have that. So East London, not South Africa, the east of London really has an amazing scene where you can do anything. I have seen the most wild stuff. I do the most wild stuff. I have an act where Anne Boleyn's head is cut off and I have a doll that I colored in with cokies. You know, it's different. And I think that's what's lacking here is that kind of space. And that is a very queer space that doesn't tend to be infiltrated by heterosexual people because they don't care about it. It's not what they are interested in. It's like where Bimini Bamboo Lash is from, and that side of London has so much that I think we would really benefit from in creating queer spaces. And I think that is starting to happen, but I think it will take a bit of time, unfortunately, to get the buy-in.
So yeah, and what I can also add to that is like I think with the sense of drag in South Africa is that we all want everyone to be the same type thing. And the minute that you step outside and you become a little bit, let's say, weird or a little bit quirkier or whatever, people do take a step back and they're like, but this is not what drag is supposed to be. So we all had to start somewhere with drag. So what advice would you give to someone that is considering, venturing in to the realms of drag?
So from my point of view, I would say go in with an open heart. Be friendly. Don't look at RuPaul's Drag Race and think you can do it. Go and speak to other queens. We are here for you. We are here to give you advice. And in the end of the day, just walk in with an open heart and do you. Just do you and you will be fine.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think also just be authentic to who you are. You don't have to be able to do a backflip to be doing drag. Like, I personally have psoriatic arthritis. I can't move like that, but I do what's authentic to me. And I think that's the lesson I learned the most is you're not going to be a good performer if you're not being who you are and who you want to be and doing what you think is fun, because otherwise you're just doing it for someone else and it doesn't make it worth it.
Yeah, I fully agree with both of you. And the advice I would give an up-and-coming drag queen is tell her, look at RuPaul's Drag Race. Look at the UK Drag Race. Everyone is different and unique in their own way. What is your uniqueness that you bring into a table? You can't be copy-paste RuPaul. Be your authentic self. So I fully agree. Be
And
your
it's a
authentic
journey.
self.
It's not going to happen overnight. I mean, I've been doing it for 14 years. I don't want to give away your age.
25 years.
25. I think you're like the newbie.
Yeah, I'm like
amongst
doing
us.
it professionally now 2 years, but we all started somewhere.
We all started somewhere.
And I've been doing it, I think, about 4 years now.
4 years. And the thing is, you start with what you have.
Yeah.
It's about taking that first step. And drag is ever growing. It's ever evolving and becoming, more and better and bigger. And I think we should really harness a culture of not trying to compete with fellow drag queens, because some of them come from a lot more privilege. Some of them, have access to a lot more materials and dresses and all those type of things. So you need to do with what you have. I think that's the best advice that I can give anyone. So before we go, I have one last question for you guys. So we've all created these fabulous personas, Kitana, Karla, and Nicki. But what quality do you think your drag possesses that you, as your normal self, if I can put it in inverted commas, don't have?
I would say confidence. In drag, I feel like the world is my oyster. I've got the universe in my hand. I'm very self-absorbed in drag, very vain. And as a guy, I'm very quiet, reserved, and I just go about my business. Everyone else, should just back away. So I tend to kind of blend the two together in certain aspects when needed. I can be a Karen or a Ben. So that persona, that part of me is the only part that's joint, can I say, is I can be very difficult.
Karla?
I'd say also confidence for me. Drag's really helped me with my confidence, but out of drag, I tend to want to blend in a bit more. I mean, I have purple hair under this wig. I definitely don't blend in, but sort of be a little bit more understated. Whereas in drag, I feel like I could do anything. Like, bring it at me and I will do it and I will do it well. Whereas out of drag, I doubt myself a lot. And I think that would also be for me, like confidence would be a huge thing I lack in my everyday life.
Energy. I connect with people so good when I'm in drag. Like, even as a boy, I do connect with people, but not on a certain level as now in drag. Like, I should say Nicki is more of a mom. Like, I feel like a mom. I just want to hug everyone. And, I'm so lovable when I'm in drag. I just want to help everyone. You can ask the queens. Every time we do a show, it's me, makeup brush. I'm busy. I'm busy helping everyone. I just want to help and love people.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think the same for me. It's confidence and bravery. Like, I feel when I'm wearing my drag, like I'm wearing a shield. Like I feel invincible. I feel like I can conquer the world in my 6-inch heels, and just there's nobody that can stand in my way. And I think that's the ultimate power of drag, is, you know, allowing us to express ourselves through what we've created, and then to try and take that we've created and put it back into our own lives. And it's a very big, I think, a coping mechanism for a lot of us, especially with what is happening in the world. So yeah, no, I think drag it's super powerful, and I really hope that the South African community continues to grow and embrace and evolve, and that we can become a very close-knit family and inclusive, and help and guide each other. Thank you so much for coming onto the couch. I really appreciate it. And I have the world of respect for all of you, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much, Shenay. Thanks for having us.
With the world mesmerized and fixated on big hair, glitter, sequins, gender benders, and rule breakers, it's every performer's responsibility and duty to keep pushing the narrative and breaking the boundaries. To be a guide, a bridge, an educator, and an informer to those in and out of the drag realms. To stand together, to create and curate a climate of respect and acceptance.